Good morning. And we welcome you to our advisory committee meeting. I'm Ron Robinson, your chair, and of course this is our advisory board. And we are glad that you are here with us today. I think at this time we're going to go to the first order of business, which is we're going to call the roll. It's like taking names. Okay. Ron Robinson, present. Anthony? Okay. Claudia? Natalie?
Present.
Mary Pascal?
Yeah.
Lindsay?
Present.
Betty Neff?
Present.
Alicia Riviera?
Present.
Vanessa? Vanessa? Vanessa once? Okay. Sam?
Here.
Okay. All right.
Debbie.
And wait a minute, we have Debbie, give me a moment. Debbie Whelan, okay,
Yes,
she
and I'm
present?
here. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I met her, didn't I? Okay. We'll add that. Okay, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good. This is a first for us, isn't it? Would you add the, okay. Okay. So now we need to go to the next agenda here, which is the, we need to approve our minutes of the last meeting, okay? Is that for, all right. Do I hear, have you read the minutes? Do I-
Mr. Chairman?
any-
Mr. Chairman, before you get to your minutes, do you want to finish out agenda item B and let everybody introduce
Oh,
themselves?
yes, that's where I was going, but someone over here was telling me to go to do the minutes, so I thought, well, do the minutes, okay. All right, let's go to item number 2. It's on the agenda. This is where we want to make some introductions here. First of all, I'd like for you to introduce to the board as well as to our people here, our Commissioner, Helen Collier. Okay. Collier, I'm sorry. Forgive me, I'm sorry. All right, okay. And then we have a lot of new board members right now. So I'm going to ask that all of us, I know we don't like to do this, but let's introduce ourselves so that we can kind of get a feel of who we are and what we look like, okay? So can we start down here on the
far
end?
left. I'm Sam Webb. I'm a new member here. Very excited to be here. I'm the co-owner of the Ann Webb Skin Clinic and Institute, and I guess have licenses. I'm an instructor in aesthetics, laser hair removal, massage therapy, and looking forward to contributing.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
I'm Debbie Wheeland. I represent the Texas Education Agency, and I have oversight over the Human Services Career Cluster, which includes cosmetology, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
My name is Alicia Rivera, and I am the representative for the high school sectors. Thank everyone for being here, and I look forward to continuing helping do what I do in my capacity.
Okay, and I'm Ron Robinson. I'm retired. I've taught for, I was at McLennan Community College as their director for 33 years. Prior to that, I was an elementary school teacher, and Al will be retired a year in August. I've taken it very seriously. It is really nice. So if any of you are anticipating, you might really want to join the ranks because it's worth the while. Okay, next.
My name is Natalie Enderman, and I represent an operator on this board. I have been in the industry for about 13 years. I'm from Lubbock, Texas, so I represent the West Texas area. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mary Lindsay. My legal name is Mary Pascal Lindsay. It gets everyone confused, so we kind of shorten it to Mary Lindsay. I am the community college representative on the board, and someday hope to have that junior college off there, and we might say community college. But we'd love to be here and love to represent the colleges at TDLR, and thank you.
I'm Shelley Neff. This is my first board meeting, and I own a local salon here in Austin called Urban Betty, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So let's, did we leave anybody out that we need to introduce at this particular time? Are we good? Okay. Moving right along, okay. At this time, I believe we're going to have a special presentation, and I believe our Executive Director, Brian Francis, will be the person who will take charge of this at this time. Does everyone know Brian Francis?
Mr. Chairman, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And you?
I'm doing well. I was just thinking about those elementary students that you were teaching, and it just gave me the shivers a little bit, thinking about how those wonderful children miss you today.
I think that's very kind of you to say so, but I was ready to say something a little bit hateful, but since you finished with something nice, I'll leave it.
I'm sure that you have made them productive citizens. Mr. Chairman, I have the pleasure, and along with my commissioner, I have the pleasure to honor somebody who was a trailblazer for our organization. Debbie, you have some shoes to fill.
I know it.
You have some shoes to fill.
She left a big hole.
When you have the first of anything, it's kind of like the explorer. You're trying to figure out how things are set. But she knew from day one her purpose. She added value immediately to the process. When you have a heart for education, when you have a heart for children, and you combine that, that's a unique blend. That's a unique combination. And I'm so excited to have this opportunity to read this certificate, and we have a beautiful frame one for you. But they always take care of me and give me all the little stuff, right? The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Diane Salazar in recognition of your tireless dedication to the citizens of Texas, for your 12 years of service to the Advisory Board on Cosmetology. Let's just let that resonate for a little bit. 12 years of anything is a lot. 12 years of serving this amazing industry, that's amazing, and it's powerful. Thank you for that service. Celebrating 21 years of service to the Texas Education Agency, the sharing of your time, energy, and the wisdom has helped ensure that the educational standards of Texas are met with excellence. You are a true champion of education and public service. Thank you for accepting the call to serve as a member, and I should say the inaugural member for the education spot, a member of the board, and thanks for making a difference. Signed by Mike Erzman, our chairman, and Brian Francis. If you'd come up and please, we'd like to present you with this amazing certificate. And I will let my commissioner.
Also like to, thank you so much, meeting you for the first time here. But I do want to obviously say a couple of words that even though it says, for your time and your effort and being a part of the inaugural, board, I have to submit to you that I'm sure that she was the type of person that leaned in, right? That leaned into the opportunity. Right, and that's huge energy that comes forward to be able to give and bless the folks that have been touched by your service. So I want to thank you for that 10,000%. Okay, absolutely.
So we're going to have the chairman say a few words, and then
yes, Diane,
we'll
on
take a
behalf
break
of
and
our-
we'll take pictures. Okay?
Excuse me, Brian, I'm sorry.
No, please.
On behalf of our board and myself, I'd like to thank you for all of the work that you have done over the years. Personally, I've known you since you started, which was 12 years ago, and I found you to be a very delightful, and I can't tell you, many times I've called her at TEA, and she's been there to help me weed through some things that I totally was lost in, especially dealing with the high school unit that we had. But I thank you for all the years, and I thank you for being my friend.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Mr. Chairman, if we could adjourn for just a second so we can get some
Certainly.
pictures.
Go ahead.
You've got to call it.
Do what? I'm.
To adjourn us. so
Okay,
that they can take
all right,
photos.
we're going to adjourn at this particular time so that we can chat with Diane, and we can also have pictures made and
Absolutely.
whatever we need to do. And how long do you think would we like to take, about 5 minutes?
10 minutes. I'm looking at the boss.
10 minutes, is that what you said? Okay, Tamla says 10 minutes, it'll be 10 minutes.
All right.
All right,
So
thank
we definitely
you.
want to get a few with the board members first.
going to do the approval of the minutes. That was for the meeting of February the 8th, 2016. So if we had an opportunity to read through the minutes, those of you who were on the board at the time, the minutes were.
Chairman, I would like to go ahead and approve the meeting, the minutes.
You're going to make a motion?
A motion, sorry.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion has been made by Board Member Alicia Riviera and seconded by Natalie Enderman, that we approve the minutes for February the 8th, 2016. Everybody approve? Repeat. All approve?
Aye.
Any people disapproving? Okay. They're approved. Okay. All right. We're going to move now to the public comment. Do we have enough time to do that at this particular time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I'd like to mention to you that anyone wishing to address the advisory board must complete a public comment form and submit it to the program specialist, which is, of course, Tamla Fletcher. Has anyone submitted anything to you? I don't recall getting anything. I have that, but I'm going to hold off on that for just a moment. Anyone? Okay. Then I do.
Mr. Chairman, if we could just have a moment there to acknowledge it's the first time we've never had comments at the Cosmetology Advisory Board meeting. And
that's why I'm sitting here.
I feel like I'm
spellbound,
in a
you know?
different place.
What?
Okay, and I see my friends out there. Okay, we're just gonna let the moment happen. We're just gonna let the moment happen.
Well, this is a first, is it not?
It is a first.
Okay. All right, I do have something, I did receive a public comment from a person who could not be here. That person is Ms. Laura Hayes. She's the program director and the esthetician instructor at McLennan Community College in Waco, Texas. I will read it to you, please, okay? It says, "Thank you for the opportunity to speak." I believe y'all have a copy of this,
Yes.
do you
Yes,
not?
sir.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak via email. I currently teach an esthetician program at McLennan Community College. As an instructor, I have a responsibility to my students to provide them with accurate information regarding what content is within the scope of an esthetician license. I recently attended the International Congress of Aesthetics Conference in Arlington, Texas, with students and have for many years. I do understand this is an international conference. However, most attendees are from Texas. The aesthetic industry has taken the position upon themselves to practice everything that is possible, most being medical. Presenters are providing false information to attendees, such as an esthetician license is required to perform microblading, microneedling, ultrasound, LED, and the list goes on. Schools in Texas are even advertising the teaching of clinical procedures. I do not expect TDLR to take the responsibility of regulating medical procedures, but I am asking TDLR to please clarify their position on the FAQ link of their website. My suggestion would be to add that TDLR does not regulate medical practices, and these services are regulated by the Texas Medical Board. An esthetician/cosmetology license does not allow practicing medical procedures and identifies areas of concern in the industry today. An example would be microblading, which is regulated by the state health department. No one knows this, so many estheticians are offering this service. In addition, the title, esthetician and cosmetologist, need to be included as esthetician, do not understand TDLR's position with grouping everyone under the title of cosmetologist. I will be more than happy to assist the board with additional information if necessary. Thank you for your time and consideration in this very important matter. Laura Hayes, Program Director, Esthetician Instructor, McClellan Community College. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. We're going to conclude our public comments at this time and move on to staff reports. And I do believe we have the licensing division. Is Joyce here? I saw her earlier. Joyce, we don't have all day.
Oh, thank you. I didn't want to break the camera.
Well, that's perfectly all right, dear. You're worth the wait.
Thank you. Okay, good morning again.
Good morning.
Ron
Good morning.
Robinson and advisory board members, and I'd like to welcome the new members. I didn't meet you, but I met Mr. Webb, so I'll talk to you afterwards. Okay, my name is Joyce Hennington. I'm the manager of the barber program at TDLR. Okay, you have my statistical report that I'm sure you looked at,
I did.
and I have a few more numbers to add. Since the year 2016, since we started waiving application fees for military reasons, thus far we've issued 236 licenses under military reasons. For Hurricane Harvey, the total number of license who had late fees waived for Harvey was 1,713. The total number of cosmetology salons that had fees waived was 148. Total number of cosmetology individual licenses who had expiration dates extended 60 days for Harvey was 7,304. Total number of cosmetology salons that had expiration dates extended 60 days for Harvey was 1,152. Total number of both cosmetology individual and cosmetology salon license that got free licenses replacements for Harvey was 784. Total number of cosmetology individual license who had CE, continuing education, waived for Harvey was 6,306. Total number of cosmetology individual licenses and students who got certified letters and transcript fees waived for Harvey was 43. Well, this goes to show you that TDLR stepped up to accommodate the devastating circumstances of Hurricane Harvey. So we really helped a lot of people during that time, and we were glad that we were able to do so. I'd like to bring one more thing to your attention. I don't think we discussed in the last meeting because November 10th, 2017, we got a new procedure to accept apprenticeship programs. In the past, we did not accept them. Unfortunately, I do not have a number of how many people we have approved through apprenticeships. Anyway, that concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions?
Could you elaborate on the apprenticeship?
Okay, before apprenticeship program, that's for the people that didn't go to school, like for barbers, Class A barber. Oh, I want to make I'm going to back up some. I want to first of all say this is only for like operators. It's not for the other specialty license type. But anyway, in our apprenticeship, the people don't get the 1,500 hours in school. They actually work under another cosmetologist. And what we do, we go by and review if they've had any schooling, how much schooling, and then we review how much experience that they have. This is all on our website, and after the meeting, if you want, I can talk to you a little bit more about it, and I can just direct you.
And
where you
Mr.
find
Chairman,
all the
if I could elaborate a
information.
little bit, this is for an out-of-state applicant.
Oh,
What
I'm
we
sorry,
had been doing
I didn't say that.
historically is that you had a person who was licensed from Georgia. They did the 3,000-hour apprenticeship program in Georgia, and they were licensed, let's say, for 10 years in Georgia. They moved here, and we were making them start back over. We were making them go to a 1,500-hour course. And so all we did is simply said, if you're an out-of-state applicant and you took an apprenticeship course there and you've been licensed for more than a year, then you don't have to start over with a course here. We didn't think that was appropriate and fair. So it's not apprenticeship in Texas. I saw some, I think I saw some people filling out some public comment notices, getting ready to get back up there and talk. But no, it's just simply recognizing that we were making people start back over. And there were some people that had been licensed for 20 years in another state, and we're saying, yes, but now you have to go to our school. And that wasn't appropriate, and so we just modified that.
Well, I'm personally glad to hear this, but my question is, so if a person, they don't have to do any Texas schooling at all?
Not at all.
They could get the full amount of credit?
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I think you clarified it very well, Brian, I
Thank
really
you.
do.
Yeah, we didn't change the ballgame here in Texas, but we did allow people who were qualified from another state working and had the experience. Yeah. So we felt good about that.
And that's based on 1,500 hours?
Yes, there's no apprenticeship program across the nation that's less than 1,500. Actually, most of them were 2,000 and 3,000 and 3,500 hours.
Okay.
So we definitely looked at all the programs, the different states that had it, to make sure that if there was a state that was below that amount and was not, that they would have had to have a higher bar to reach, whether it was 5 years experience or 10 years experience.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Whenever someone from another state is transitioning through the apprenticeship program, what is the requirements for that? How do you go about checking to make sure that what they are saying is true, basically?
Well, they're just, you're going to get the information from the other state. So when a person from Texas goes to Tennessee to get licensed, Tennessee is going to require a certification of their hours, their experience, and their examination that they passed from Texas. We get that same information from the other states. Is a person currently licensed? Have they had disciplinary issues? How did they earn their hours? And did they pass an examination, written and practical?
And the reason I ask is because I'm not familiar with
Sure.
the apprenticeship program.
You know, a couple of years ago, I was at a poetry competition in Georgia, and I needed to get the frock done. I needed to get, my fro and my beard and my face done, and I was sitting I was going to a barber, but the chair next to me was a young man who was doing it through apprenticeship, and he was on his 2,500th hour working in that salon. So, of course, my TDLR radar started going off, and I wanted to ask more questions. And so I was asking the barber that was providing the service to me, and he showed me the paperwork, the practical experience that they're doing there, but also showed me the theory portion of how they do the
That's my
theory.
interest.
And it was really interesting that they literally sit down for an hour or 2 hours, a week going through theory, but it's double the hours is what we've noticed in most of the programs. So it's a 3,000-hour journey.
I just have one. Would there ever be occasions that a student might be in an apprentice program out in another state and want to come into our school? Would we accept any of that?
They would have to start a school here. We have not crossed that bridge. In fact, I would think there would be pitchforks and flaming torches at some proximity of that bridge. Absolutely. Yeah, I would lose the hair here as well as here. And I'm kind of proud of the beard, so
Okay.
I want to keep that intact.
Okay, any other questions for Joyce? Joyce, thank you so much.
Thank
Joyce,
you.
thank you very
All the
much.
time you want to going back.
Thank you, Ron, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Next, on our staff reports, Customer Service Division. Trey, this is Trey. And, Trey, this is a new program, is it? A new.
Well, That's why I am here. Good morning, Chairman and board
Wake
members.
up.
It's very good to see you. Great segue. So the Customer Service Division has been part of the picture all along and had been in the background getting the work done. We're the duck on the water, as my esteemed colleague Mary Winston likes to say, just looking cool and calm and collected on the surface, but just kicking furiously beneath the water to get this work done. So just a little history about me. I'm going to flip my script a little bit. I started with the Cosmetology Commission back in 2003 and was part of the transition to the Department of Licensing and Regulation in 2005. So I've been with the program for quite a long time. I'd also like to introduce the manager for this program is Armagh Mendoza. She is going to be presenting on the behalf of customer service in future meetings and has been with the Cosmetology Commission for, okay, she doesn't want me to say exactly that number. But she has been with the industry for many years and actually began her state service with the cosmetology industry and has watched the process over the years and is now one of the folks in the customer service division that works really hard for this industry. So when I came over in 2005, Gene Mays was the director of the customer service division at that time, and you may recall, some of you may recall him. And we worked very well together, the three of us, Armagh, Gene, and myself, and we have done and participated in every step along the way. Just to give a little bit about what the customer service division is made of and what we do, we are 52 individuals, hard-working group of people. Our team, like I said, that duck on the water, we get a lot of work, and we've always had that with that cosmetology industry still being the #1 source of our contacts, both by email, phone call, walk-ins. We respond to questions on our social media, through Twitter and through Facebook, and now Google reviews. So we 2,000 calls we receive approximately per day with that 50 staff. Mondays are our busiest day. So there's a tool that I use that for some reason isn't working for me at this moment. Technology is great when it works, but just, when it doesn't, it doesn't. But so I'm a little, like blind right now because I can't see what's going on. But usually we're watching to make sure that our folks are in place and making sure that we get to those phone calls. We receive about 400 emails as well as phone calls per day. Again, the beginning of the week is a busier part. After a holiday, again, that next day is a busy day for us. It's been an interesting time over this last 12 months with the addition of new programs and just the various factors that have influenced that call volume. But just our group is just heart. We are there. We are guides. We act as a bridge to the internal divisions within the agency, relating that information back and forth. And whenever there's an issue, problem, something not working as it should, we're there to catch that issue, and we hold on to it and make sure that it gets resolved. So we work both with each of the divisions that are reporting today, including Joyce's team. We work very closely with them. We also answer currently we have English speakers, Spanish speakers, Vietnamese speakers, Mandarin, and Korean speakers. So we try to meet the industries as they grow and change. We do our best to bring in folks that can help with those folks that need that assistance. I already talked about myself. Let us talk about our statistics. So as you can see, over this last fiscal year, and the previous fiscal year, we had about 500,000 contacts for the year. And by my estimates, we're going to exceed that this year. So, or we'll be pretty close. And so it pretty much is looking around 10,000 calls. Some months, the holidays are a little slower per month for this program. 10,000 contacts per month for this program. We are nearing graduation in the summertime, and there's several factors that influence the ups and downs in the industry. But we're happy to be here. We're happy to serve. We've been here all along, but we had been behind the scenes. Someone brought it up that, customer service does a really fantastic job for the agency. Their stories should be told, and so that is why I'm here today, and we will be presenting in future meetings. It's very wonderful to meet all of you. I'm happy to entertain questions should you have them.
I do have a question, just from personal experience. I'm sure everyone has received the surveys that TDLR is sending. Is that from your division?
There is a report on the service and it does include the division in terms of satisfaction with phone call, response times, email, walk-ins, the website. Some of them are areas outside of our particular division, but we do work with the other divisions in giving that information on what customers are needing and what they'd like to see. And then we're also receiving that feedback from customers every day and passing that information on.
I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
I actually received the survey twice, but I filled it out twice. I was happy to give that feedback. No, I think it's great.
No,
So,
we'll take it.
yeah.
We'll take it.
And where are y'all housed?
We are at EOT on the 6th floor.
Mary Winston, TDLR, and I can't believe I have to say this to our chairman. We cannot hear you.
Me?
You?
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Where-
and Natalie,
where
make
are
sure
you
we speak
housed?
into, because we want to make sure we have viewers on YouTube, and I'll get an email, believe it or not, from upstairs, from our staff watching, and it'll be urgent. We cannot hear a word. So just make sure we introduce ourselves.
I will correct that
I-
immediately. That is not
It was
a problem.
shocking.
I'm sorry.
I think you were so enthralled with the fantastic story of our customer service, because they do work hard, that you just kind of leaned back and got into it. But make sure that we know other people are trying to listen. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
and I'm
thank
sure the
you.
board will take heed of that also.
Yes.
Okay. Back to the question. So you are located where again?
Our downtown location
Downtown,
in
okay.
EOT building.
Okay. So do we have any other questions for Trey? Anyone?
Comment,
I
maybe,
have a
Trey.
Comments?
Comment.
Okay.
Yes. One of the things that I do is answer questions as well about lots of different things, but one of the most common questions I get is, how do I become a high school cosmetology teacher?
Oh.
Typically from individuals that are licensed cosmetologists, and they don't really understand the process. So at some point, you and I
Absolutely.
could huddle together and
Yes, we will.
put together a good answer for that question.
Thank you.
Very good.
So Trey, just saying, if you were going to recommend someone, when is the best day to call? When I have people call me and want to get into, usually say Friday's a good day to call. So we'll still stay with that kind of a recommendation, or not the first part of the week then.
Right. Well, we open at 7 a.m.
So early.
And so 7 a.m. and then we close at 6 p.m. So there, on a Monday even, is opportunity
That's great.
if you're willing to do that
I'll have
that
some
earlier call.
stylists in the community call asking questions and
Right.
refer them to TDLR. So I was just
Right.
wondering
And
what you would
then
recommend.
the later in the week, absolutely, yeah. Wednesdays through Fridays are
Thank you.
better
That's
for us.
exciting. Appreciate it.
But we're open 7 a.m. every day.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
great too.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Thank you, Trey.
Good to see you.
All right. Do we need to take a break at this particular time, Tamara?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we can get one more report in.
All right.
Thank you so
certainly.
much, though, for asking.
That'll be great. Okay, let's have, let's see here. Kim, I believe, is going to do the enforcement today, right?
Yes.
How are you, Kim?
I'm doing well. How are y'all today?
Fine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman Robinson and advisory board members. I'd like to welcome all the new members. It's always great to have you. My name is Kimberly Davenport, and I'm a prosecutor with the Enforcement Division, here to bring you the enforcement staff report. And regarding the case highlights you received, as you can see, there were 3 agreed orders that I highlighted for you, as well as 2 default orders. The cases that I chose for the highlights are relatively indicative of a lot of the violations that we see coming into the Enforcement Division. Many of the ones we received are unlicensed activity, for both individual operators as well as for salons that haven't obtained their license or their license has been expired for a great amount of time. Other things that we see that are indicative on these particular cases that I highlighted for you is a failure to properly clean and sanitize foot spas, as you're supposed to have done. Also, failure to calculate student refunds after a withdrawal for cosmetology school. And one of the other cases was a revocation based on failing to pay previously ordered administrative penalties that the department has waged. And I don't know how much you know about that, but if we issue an order, a default order, because no one's responded to us usually, then at some point, if we can't collect that money, we have to do something to enforce that order, which is when we turn a revocation. But we always attempt to exhaust all our remedies before taking that serious of a penalty against someone. Now, since the last meeting, I would say the majority of the orders that have been entered are agreed orders. And I would say it's a number over 300. In terms of defaults, it was about 125, a little bit over that. So there's been quite a bit of action by the Enforcement Division since our last meeting. There are also some licenses that were revoked as a matter of operation of law. Now, what I find more interesting is our statistics for the Enforcement Division, because they seem to have changed quite a bit since the last meeting. And initially, clearly, you know, the cosmetology program is a large part of what the department caseload. This time, since the last meeting, in terms of cases opened, the percentage has gone down quite a bit. And I would say that's likely because we've got a lot of new programs. Massage therapy is taking a lot of space right now, but I think that will even out. So in terms of numbers of cases open, the cosmetology program takes up about 17% of the amount of cases opened. From our last meeting, that was about 28%. So clearly, all the new programs are taking a little bit of space. Now, in terms of cases resolved, the cosmetology program is about 24%. That's gone down slightly from the last meeting, which was 26%. But what I find more exciting is, in terms of the agreed orders obtained through the cosmetology program, it has gone to 51% of the cases resolved in terms of with agreed orders. That used to be 40%. So quite a bit more resolution of cases where parties have agreed on something, which I think is very good for the department, and that the respondents and the department can come to an agreement in terms of those cases and the resolution of those. In terms of the penalties assessed, and I believe it was from the last meeting to March of this year, the cosmetology program represents about 25% of all the penalties assessed. That's up from 20% at the last advisory board meeting that we had. And in terms of collecting those penalties, that number is 42% of the penalties that the COS program represents, as opposed to 31% for the last fiscal year. So I think in terms of our numbers, you're seeing quite a bit of difference, but I think that it just shows larger cooperation and ability to work together. But those are the statistics. I'd be happy to entertain any questions anyone has.
Any questions? Comments? Questions? Very quickly, I know we've done this billions of times, but for the benefit of our new members, could you, Chris, very quickly give us a definition of agreed order, default, just a brief one?
All right. In terms of agreed orders, and how our process is generally is, of course, we get some sort of either a complaint or inspection that shows what violations that a respondent, either salon or individual, it may have. And at that point, if we decide it's necessary, we file, and I'm going to give a little process behind that to get where we are, but we file what's called the notice of alleged violation, laying out the factual allegations as well as the law that applies. For example, if someone's unlicensed, we say, on this date, we went to the salon and found someone cutting hair without an operator's license, and then tell them what the penalty is and what we're willing to do to settle that case. If they contact us, or if they send the paperwork back, including a settlement agreement and a payment, that's when we enter an agreed order. And we're always amenable to any kind of settlement. We tell them, hey, please call us. We have settlement options available. Please call us. But if you don't call us, this will be bad. And so a large number of the time, as you can tell from the number of orders, they will get back with us and they will reach some sort of settlement with our department, or they just send money in and send a settlement saying, yes, we agree to pay this amount of money, we've paid this money. And at that point, when we have both the settlement document signed by the respondent as well as a penalty payment, then we enter what's called an agreed order, where we basically send an order to our director, Brian, asking him to sign off that this is what we agreed to, and these are the terms of this agreement. Now, in terms of a default, as we say, on that same piece of paper, it says, if you don't contact us within 20 days, we may take action. And that sometimes can be just a penalty. Sometimes it can be a suspension, depending on the seriousness of the penalty. Sometimes can be a revocation if it's a very serious penalty, and sometimes depending on if there's prior violations. So if no one calls us and they don't respond and they don't send us any love letters or money, then we proceed with a default order. And before we even proceed with that, we'll send them a letter saying, hey, we tried to get in contact with you and you didn't respond, so we're going to try one more time. If we're taking very serious license action like revocation, we'll even reach out and call them and say, we're going to give you another chance because we need to tell you this, because we want that open line of communication. I would always prefer to have an agreed order where everyone's agreeing to things, but sometimes people just choose not to respond. And in terms of default orders, we make sure that, we've gotten proper service, that if they've moved or something and haven't updated addresses, that can always be an issue. But most of the time, we have to make sure that they either just willfully are ignoring us. So we make sure that we've gone through all those hoops to make sure we've done everything we can to properly give them notice before we enter any kind of default order.
Okay. And when a person, they have they can go before the TDLR board, can they not?
Yes. If they decide that they don't agree with the violations, when they receive that notice of violation, it also tells them you have 20 days to contact us, and you can either ask for a hearing. They have to ask for a hearing, a written request for a hearing. And at that point, we will file something with the state Office of Administrative Hearings, setting a hearing date so that they can question any of those matters in front of the state board or the administrative law judge. And at that point, once...
Brian Francis, we can bring Kim back up.
Oh, okay.
But we really need to take that adjournment so
Okay.
we can have the moment of silence.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you would call.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to observe a moment of silence, please. Kim, are you going to?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. Brian Francis will, at this time, speak with us.
Governor Abbott has
So there's lots of processes along the way for people to attempt to get more consideration. And also sometimes regarding default orders, if someone feels they didn't get proper service, they will file for a motion for rehearing. That'll also go in front of the commission and explain, I didn't get proper service, I changed my address, and they will decide whether they should allow them another chance to basically reconsider the decision that's already been made, as in terms, usually a default order is when that's the situation.
It's very involved.
There's a lot of process involved, but we at least try to work with people the best we
I
can.
know y'all do, and I thank you so much for sharing this information with
No
us.
problem, anytime.
Do we have any comments or any other questions for Kim at this time? Okay, Kim, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this particular time, we have the Education and Examination Division. Is Lorraine here? Oh. Rebecca's here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well.
Hello. Hello, Lorraine. How are you?
Good morning,
So
Chair.
you're going to give us a lot of information today.
We're going to try.
Remember, speak.
Speak up.
Okay.
Speak up, boys and girls.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Admas. I'm with the Education and Examination Division. First off, I'd like to welcome the new family members. We call you family members because I believe at TDLR we're more of a family atmosphere. You will, if you don't already feel that, you will. That's the one thing that one of the many things that we pride ourselves in is to make everyone feel like family here. Another thing I'd like to do is also publicly thank Ms. Salazar for all of your service and your kind words and always being there for when I needed a phone call and being there on the other end to answer for me. So thank you very much. And on my list of thank yous, I'd like to also thank all the educators that have invited me into their classrooms. As the education liaison, I've on my state tour of Texas and have had the pleasure of visiting many, many classrooms, watching the educators interacting with the students and just making sure that they know that TDLR is here for them, answering any questions they may have, and also there to support the educators with any questions that they may have as well. We have some statistics there. I don't know if anyone has any questions regarding their statistics.
You know, we looking at all these statistics, you know, I think we're doing a great job in the practical area. I think when I looked at all of this, it seemed like in every one of the licenses we had very good scores in the practical part. But again, it's the age-old situation. It's this written examination that seems to hinder these people from getting their licenses. And especially I noticed in the instructor license part, that seems to, I know we have the subject matter experts and so forth. Is there anything else that we can be doing? Maybe, should we provide these students with study guides or something like that?
Well, I mean, we do have the exam content outline that's in the CIB.
Okay.
As far as, a study guide, if you'll notice, we have made a slight improvement from, first quarter to third quarter, so it's making a little headway. We know that there are many challenges that are faced with the instructors. It could be, curriculum, it could be available material for these educators to help these student instructors as far as, textbooks.
Well, are we using the same textbooks
Master educator.
Statewide?
Yes.
So, to me, there seems to be a breakdown either at the school level or somewhere we're not getting it.
Right, and we've actually had long discussions on this with our subject matter experts that are, when we're going over this instructor exam, that there are many different factors that contribute to this, and it's being looked at. It is definitely being looked at, and something that we know it needs to be improved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't want us someday to wake up in the state of Texas with a shortage.
You're absolutely
Okay.
right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments regarding these statistics?
Okay.
Well,
Thank you so much. Do you have any more else to
I'd
share
like to
with
turn
us?
it over to Lorraine, who's got some
Okay.
exciting news for everyone.
Oh, go for it.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. My name is Lorraine Srove, and I am with the Education and Examination Division. And we hope that, that the board and the industry will be as excited about these new adventures that we're taking, as excited as our division is. We have been working over the past year, working on gathering curriculum, confirmation and verification from all of the schools across the state. And there has been a purpose behind us doing that. And one of those is the new search capability that we have on the website now. Before, we did not have the information needed to be able to provide this. So now to the public and to our customer service division, any new prospective student can search the entire state and find a city in their area and see the schools in that area and see what type of curriculum they have to offer. So instead of having to call customer service and ask that question and then try and track that down, they can do that themselves. So this would be parents of high school students, this could be individuals themselves, any interested party, and this is open to the cosmetology schools and to the barber schools as well. So we're excited to be able to offer that now. Yes, I think that'll be a tremendous service to the industry.
And this is called You.
It is a search listing on the website, and it is available on our online service page. It is also available on the cosmetology page and on the barber page itself. So we have it in a couple of different areas, hoping to make it easy to find for those that would need that information. And then we have also, of course, made customer service division aware of where this is so that they could direct anybody if they needed to. And this has been up for about a month now. So we're hoping after it's been up for a while, we'll be able to provide you possibly some statistics there as to the number of people that have possibly used that search site. So another new opportunity that we have is we have started to make our first instructional video that's going to be available on the website. And the instructional video is going to show step by step how to enroll students in Shears. And this is the first of many. We envision having a full page of instructional videos to help cut down on those questions, those phone calls, those emails, and to help new instructors so that they'll have a place to go where they can see step-by-step instructions of how to work Shears. And for those of you who may not be aware, Shears is our student hour system where schools log in, they report hours, they enroll students, they drop students, and they're able to enter all student information for the school and process out and get a student permit at the end of that transaction. So we actually have the video available to show. And just keep in mind that this is a large production. This won't be as you would necessarily see it right on the computer screen. But if you'll give me just a second, I will play that for you.
Lorraine, may I ask you just a question about
Absolutely.
the curriculum approval
Yes.
site? I was wondering, many of our schools, we've all applied, but there are a few outstanding out there. What is the deadline for that approval form to be sent?
We have not set a deadline. Even the Shears itself, that portion that I'm getting ready to show you, that's not live yet. We have 80 cosmetology schools that have not responded and 34 barber schools. So we are almost there because we have over 600 schools. So if you look at that in comparison, we've I think, done very well at trying to get the majority of those. And we've sent out an email to those 80 schools, and at some point, if they still don't respond, we will go ahead and do a phone call saying, you know, this is getting ready to go live, and we need to have your information, because if we don't have that, then we're not going to help be able to advertise that for the schools that are out there.
I just had a conversation with a dean that's in between their
Right.
chairs, so they were, you know, they just didn't know completely how to fill out paperwork out,
Right.
waiting to see what was going to happen. It's hiring time.
Yes.
So they said, is there a deadline? I said I would ask if there's a deadline.
Sure. No, we didn't
For
want to
application.
set a deadline just yet. Any other questions on the search? Okay, let me get that video for you.
I guess we could turn them into Kim.
While Lorraine's looking, getting ready to start that video, if any of the instructors have questions on the outlying schools that need help completing those forms, I'm more than willing to come out, sit with them, and make sure that they get those filled out and answer any questions that they have.
I just think the case I was talking about, they were in between.
Mhm.
So.
I'm Pizarro, director for the education. These children, some recent updates we've made with shears. We have developed a short video that explains the enhancement. I hope you find the instructional video helpful. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us by using the feedback button in shears or our education inbox at education@tdlr.texas.gov.
pretty
Lorraine,
snazzy,
when did
eh?
you say this is available? Oh, I'm jumping the gun. All right. Sorry.
All right, we wanted to show the board first the video, and you should have received an email where you could personally see that on your computer screen as well. This is not going live until we have tried our best to reach out to every school. So it's not on the website yet, and the new enhancement to Shears have not gone live either. So as soon as we have made every attempt to reach out to each school, then we will notify the board, and we will even notify the schools and make them aware this is going live on this date, and make them aware that the instructional video is available on the website. And as you see, it was a very short video, quick and easy to go through, and we're envisioning having little short videos for each step of Shears eventually, to where they won't necessarily have to be referring to that operations manual and reading it. They'll have a video that they can actually watch that takes them through those steps. So that is our presentation.
So, am I hearing that it is subject to review between now and the time it goes online?
The video, it's the our video tech has pretty much finished all of the
So
review.
we
Did you have a
can't-
suggestion?
Well, it's just my opinion. I think
Sure.
that we need to look at someone else maybe doing the introduction that's a little more debonair and handsome, like myself.
Are you volunteering, Ron? We will take that under advisement.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is your deadline? Do you have a deadline? Not a deadline?
No, we're hoping to have it done to be able to go live hopefully over the summer, to where in the start of the fall, when all the high schools get on, that this would be up and ready to go. The high schools have actually been one of our main focus right now, trying to get them done before school ends. The colleges as well, so that they'd be ready to go and have time to look over that video and hopefully eliminate too many questions. So, but hopefully over the summer.
Lorraine, I can personally tell you how much I appreciate y'all running it by the board prior to
Thank
Yes.
you.
going online.
Thank
I
you.
do
Chairman,
appreciate that.
Chairman,
Sure.
what was that again?
Oh, Lorraine, I really do appreciate your running it before the board before it goes online.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ron. Any other questions that we could answer?
No, I just have a comment as well. It's
Sure.
just to what you're trying to do is, and especially for new teachers that are coming in, this is going to be a great tool for them to
Yes.
be able to utilize. Because I know as a new teacher, there's always a lot of questions.
Sure.
And so we do appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I also see this in the instructor's course as, a part
Yes.
of the
Absolutely.
teaching, the teaching. Might have to put this on my shoulder.
I'm getting the eyes, so.
I see this being a good teaching tool
I agree.
for our instructor students.
Yes.
So, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'd like to reference Rebecca's comments on her part as helping the schools, and if they need help with their forms, that they can be able to contact her, because that's a big asset, and that is where I referred that school to. And so hopefully they'll take us up on that and contact you.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you for that assistance.
Advisory board members, this is Colleen, Assistant General Counsel. When we speak, let's remember to say our names before we speak so we know who's speaking.
Oh, okay. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have to repeat that? Okay. All right, this is Ron Robinson, the board chair. And at this time, we're going to go to the next staff report. And I believe that's going to be the Regulatory Program Management Division. And is it David or
It's Lee.
It's Lee, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, advisory board members. I am Lee Parham, the Deputy Director of Regulatory Program Management. It's been a while since I've been before this board, a few years. Earlier this year, we shifted some of our programs and resources to provide better support. Thank you, Pamela. To provide better support. And the barber, cosmetology, and massage therapy programs will be reporting directly to me now. So we're back. We're back together. Also, we have a new division director. You might know David Gonzalez back there. David brings many years of experience and oversight abilities to our division, and we're looking forward to the future. Marinella LaFleur, the reason I'm giving this report today, Marinella LaFleur, she's at a trade show, the Image Expose in Houston today. Our outreach and projects, Elizabeth Perez and Marinella attended the Image Expo trade show in November of last year, November 10th through the 11th, in Dallas. We answer a lot of questions and provide a lot of information to the attendees. Elizabeth, Marinella, and David Gonzalez participated in the PSI Cosmetology and Barber Examination Review Committee, ERC for short, in February of this year, February 19th through the 23rd. All of the ERCs so far have been held here in Austin. Also related to PSI, Elizabeth and Marinella will be participating in the PSI and Cosmetology Barber ERC examination reviews this summer, actually next month, in June. If you notice, the next couple of bullets are not presentations, but trade shows that we have attended. And you'll notice some names that are not in our division, where we reach out across the agency, and a lot of the other divisions really supply help. They really help us out, provide assistance. Marinella and Don Vera. Don is in the enforcement division. They represented the agency at the Redken Distributor Association, RDA, trade show last month, the April 8th through the 9th. Same thing, a lot of information is provided to the attendees, and we answer a lot of questions. Marinella, Irma, you met Irma earlier. She's in the customer service division, and Keitha Chester, she's in our RPM division. Represented the agency at the Armstrong McCall Fashion Focus Show in Galveston last month, April 29th through the 30th. They're again providing tons of information and answering tons of questions. The information that continues to be provided for the attendees includes license renewal information, the agency's human trafficking initiative, the continuing education requirements, and really any other assistance that attendees ask us for. Internally, within the division, Elizabeth and Marinella continue to assist enforcement, field inspections, formerly known as field operations. Tanya will be up here shortly. Licensing and customer service with any questions that they may have. It's a team effort here. We have some upcoming trade shows. You see the one there that Marinella is at today. It ends today in Houston, the Image Expose. The Foundation for Advancement of Careers and Technical Education Conference, that'll be in Galveston, July the 8th through the 12th. and the Texas Industrial Vocational Association TIVA Conference will be July 15th through the 21st in Irving, Texas. So we have a new division, a new name, new leadership, and we're really looking forward to the future. And I'm actually glad to have Barber Cosmetology back. If I can answer any questions, I will, and if I can't, I'll get you the answers.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Tiffany? No? Well, I had a lot of little questions, but you answered every one of them, Ron Robbins.
Awesome.
I had them marked
Perfect.
here, but
Okay.
now you've taken care of that.
Great.
So, are there any other? Okay, thank you, Lee, very much.
Thank you. That's the easiest I've ever gotten off.
Thanks, Lee, and great socks.
Okay. Field Operations Division. I wonder who this is. Tanya.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Usually get to say good afternoon to the
Speak
cosmetology.
into
I am. This is Tanya Guthrow, the Director of Field Operations.
Thank you.
And I'm going to really focus on this mic because my voice is very quiet. In our report today, we're going to start out with our top violations that are found during inspections. An important thing to note is that these are the violations that may have been found, but they are not always as serious enough to require a report that goes to enforcement. So those are going to vary from any kind of top violations that enforcement may be taking action on. And in our division, a big activity during this period is the inspectors are ensuring to hand out the prevention of human trafficking posters. There's several different types of posters. The most recent one is in color, and it has two sides, and we're making those available to folks as we are out on site in the different salons. I'd also like to point out that while barbershops are not required to post the prevention of human trafficking posters, if you hold a dual license, you do need to go ahead and post it in those types of shops. Our mini salon roundup efforts are continuing. They've been very successful for us. It enables us to be as efficient as possible. We have completed 51 mini salon roundups throughout Texas with approximately 2,863 inspections this year, and I'm sure since this report was developed and sent in, we've done even more. And in our outreach efforts, we've been working with our new Public Information Officer, Brenda Flores-Dollar, and the Communication Specialist, Doug Van Pelt, who recently joined our agency. Our inspector, Jeanette Deveste, took both of these folks out to show them the inspection process and get them familiar with the things that we do here in our field inspections. We've also hired a new inspector. Sharon Hollins joined us in the North Region. She's a veteran with experience with other state agencies, and we're happy to welcome her to our TDLR family. And unfortunately for field inspections, the South Region Manager, Jennifer Harless, accepted a position as TDLR's Strategic Response Coordinator with the RPM division. She's going to coordinate TDLR's efforts of combating human trafficking and also the response to emergencies and natural disasters. But we are lucky enough to continue to get to work with her as the Field Inspections Division is always helpful when we run into situations such as that need a strategic response coordination. We have posted and actually completed the interviews to replace Jennifer as the South Region Manager, and we hope to make a decision and make an announcement very soon. And finally, we have our statistics, the inspections that we have completed this fiscal year so far. One thing to note, our second page of this is the inspection statistics for cosmetology schools. As part of the recalibration, the inspection function for schools got moved from the Exams and Education Division to the Field Inspection Division. we'd like to make sure that we, and I think we did in our last meeting, welcome those inspectors, but we'll be reporting those numbers to you guys in the future. Do you have any questions?
I do have a question. Natalie Enderman.
Yes, ma'am.
On the mini salon roundups, I
Yes.
spoke with our local inspector a little bit about that just to understand more because, again, I'm an operator working in the field.
Yeah.
Is there a number as far as how many suite renters are in the salon that qualifies you to be able to have a mini salon roundup?
There's not a hard and fast rule, but we are just trying to be efficient. We don't want to have to keep going out to the same location, 20, 30, 50. Some places have over 100 different suites. So if an inspector happens to go to a salon and there are 2 or 3, that's something that they can complete on their own. But when we start to get into those larger numbers, it needs to be a coordinated effort.
Thank you.
You're
That answers.
welcome.
Any comments, questions?
Not this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just point out something on Tanya's report that I think she was being extremely shy about, is that her staff has done an extraordinary job, particularly this fiscal year. When you look at the report for fiscal year 2017 or 2018, we're looking at about 3,132 inspections, and for the same time period the year before, it was 1,913. When you look at Tanya's numbers just for the salons and her staff's numbers, I know she'd be humble enough to say her staff, but she's been working hard. They're looking at 3,805 for the first 2 quarters this year and 3,134 for the previous year. That's nearly 700 more inspections, and they're doing a lot of things right, and I'm very appreciative of it. So, Tanya, that's your horn being tooted by your boss, or your boss's boss.
Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. And of course, the staff is being very open to changes in our procedures and processes. And we've been lucky enough to get a couple of extra people as well. So I do want to congratulate them on all their hard work.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, is that how it goes?
Exactly right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, our Executive Director, Brian Francis, will speak to us. And hopefully, we'll be in Papados before they close.
Mr. Chairman, Brian Francis, Executive Director with TDLR, and it's great to be here. I want to welcome the new members. We appreciate your service, traveling as far as you do. I know that Ms. Neff had to go at least 4.7 miles to get here, and we're grateful for that.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to try to get it closer to you. We're going to work on that.
Thank you.
We're going to work on it. But no, we really do appreciate your service, and I know the industry does as well. The advisory boards play an important role. They're a voice, they're a conduit for allowing us to have that expertise and a peek into, or behind the curtain, I should say, to make sure that we're doing our job well. So thank you so much for your service. I'd like to allow my commissioner, Collier, to speak, and then we'll have Nick do a presentation, and then I'll keep you for another 2 hours after that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Looking forward.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I do want to echo Brian's statement. I want to say congratulations to the new board members. Sam, and I know I voted on you guys, so Sam, Shelley, thank you so much as well, 7 minutes, as well as Debbie, former TEA. Very important role in that regard. So you already know the shoes that you have to fill, so she's already been on Amazon to order that, I'm sure. So thank you. But this is very, very critical, and I'm appreciative of being on this particular board. You'll find that, not to say that my colleagues on the commission are not as active, but they're in a different manner, that I'd like to get out into the field to see what's going on. So I know I've had an opportunity to visit, thanks for Rebecca and the staff, to take me to some of the cosmetology schools so I can get a feel as to when cases come before us, then I'm able to respond accordingly based on some realness. So I may be visiting, just know that. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Collier. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Chairman, board members, Nick Voinas, TDLR, thank you again for being here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our outreach pertaining to your program, and I'll start with your website. and update you a bit on some traffic numbers associated with the program, and your numbers are really, really good. Over the last 6 months, the cosmetologist website had 605,986 page views, and that's an average of 3,385 a day, which is very impressive. And no surprise, but 58% of those visitors accessed your site from a smartphone. So these folks are on the go. Another 6% did so from a tablet, and that compares to 36% that did so just from a desktop computer. Those numbers are changing as we move along. The top reasons for visiting your site, number one, are the online license renewal, and followed by frequently asked questions, exam information, transferring your cosmetology license from another state, and forms. And also wanted to remind you of our social media presence. If you're on social media, please check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and keep up with TDLR news and events there. We also have a group, a pretty large group of about 350,000 subscribers that receive various email blasts pertaining to your program right now. So if there are folks out there that are not receiving those, they could go to the website and subscribe to those very easily. And now on to Brian.
Nick, thank you very much for that update. I think it's amazing when you hear the number of hits on a web page. People take it for granted. It's like oh, well, the web page is out there. But when you have 605,000 contacts over that time period, those are folks that aren't asking for information to be mailed to them. There's not a stamp that's attached to it. It's not going through some system and someone's not printing it out. It's creating a face, and I know tradespeople are grateful for it because those are a few calls that don't have to come to them. There's a few documents that don't have to be requested, so really appreciate what your group is doing, Nick. So Commissioner Collier, just like Tanya, was being a little bit modest. When she said she's engaged, she's engaged. She has already gone to licensed breeder inspections facilities. She's gone to barber and cosmetology schools. She's gone to toe roundups. She's gone to the mini salon roundups and inspections, advisory board meetings. She is involved on a lot of levels. But I think it's important because she does have a sense, and I love her phrasing. She said she can view it with the realness. She has a sense of perspective when those orders are coming before her. She has a little bit of context on how that school looks, how it's operated. She can remember the students and how they're engaged and how they're flowing back and forth, and the instructors and the interaction they have. And of course, with Ray and his team, they've been phenomenal in being her tour guide through these areas. So I really appreciate you being here today, but also everything that you've done. Along those lines, and segueing to commissioners, I have the pleasure of having 7 bosses. One is to my left, and we have 2 new bosses for Brian. Dr. Callis and Dr. Wesson were appointed recently by the governor's office. We did an extensive orientation for Dr. Callis last week. So they'll have their first meeting of the commission together this week on the 24th. And as my mother says, y'all pray for me. But it's going to be great. It's going to be exciting to see how the commission dynamic is influenced and changed by the inclusion of the 2 doctors on there. I know it's going to be positive, but it's going to be an interesting process to watch that unfold. I also want to get Ray up to do a very quick introduction for his staff, and then I'll continue my presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ray Pizarro, Director for the Education Examination Division. I would like to introduce to you, we just hired her on May 1st, Carnicia Penson. She's right behind here. And what she brings to the table for us, she has an extremely enormous background on curriculum development, training, that kind of thing. So that's going to help our staff and help us grow into working with the work groups, learning more on how to guide and help the department, and also make that connection with all of the schools that we regulate, not only cosmetology, but massage therapy and all the others, to come to a good understanding on how to set those rules and set the different technical requirements that we have in order to do the job for you guys. So I think she's going to bring a good value to the team. That's all I want to say. Thanks.
No, there's not any comments.
Mr. Chairman, I'll continue my presentation. I want to touch on the strategic planning process, and let me emphasize the word process. Too often an organization will look at a strategic plan as just a piece of paper that's completed, done, put it on the shelf, and it's over. But at TDLR, we see it as a continuum, as a process. One of the most important parts of the process is having the conversation and getting the input. I want to thank the cosmetology industry for its involvement in coming out to the external focus group sessions. I see a number of folks that attended the sessions, and unlike today, they were not shy. They provided some great feedback. We employed some new technology this go around. People were able to type in from their phones their ideas and their thoughts. And what that did is it accelerated the number of ideas that we were able to receive. It also allowed the folks, unlike the chairman and myself, we've got this extroverted persona about us, but it allowed for the introverts in the group to participate. And that's a big deal, because too often in meetings, we will leave that very sharp, intelligent voice behind because we're saying, speak up, speak up. Well, they were able to speak up and engage and provide that information in a setting that was comfortable for them, but more importantly, it was valuable for our agency. The strategic planning process, look at it again as a continuum. So now we have all this information coming in, and I'll just read you some general numbers. We break up the buckets of information. So for every session, you're going to have somebody who's going to have a question about a rule. Somebody's going to have a comment about a statute, IT. Oh, y'all need to answer the phone faster. Oh, you need to answer the phone slower. Comments about customer service, comments that speak to our core values, about respect and integrity and those sort of things, and then comments about human resources. You need to have more inspectors. You need to have more IT people. So those 7 buckets constitute where we put the data. We have teams that are set up at TDLR. The first focus for the evaluation teams are legislative, IT, and process improvement. Those are the items that you'll see in the strategic plan. What type of statutory changes can we recommend that can make the world better? But this group will have some heavy lifting as we start sifting through the recommended rule changes. And we'll just plop that idea into the various work groups and say, here's some of the thoughts, what do you think? We had some great ideas come from a couple of sessions. Mr. Jemison was in one of the meetings, and he talked about adding a barcode or a QR code to the license, the licensed person in the salon. It may accelerate our gathering of information from our inspectors, and it's something we're exploring. That's not going to be in our strategic plan, but it's something that we're already processing and evaluating. Another comment that came out of the Austin session was, when you make changes to the candidate information brochure, tell us what you changed. One lady said, I literally sit down with it line by line, and I want to see what the word change is. Well, we can do that. We can do a one-page summary that says, we changed the brochure, and here are the 4 changes. We added a new location, and we put an S on the end of the word on page 5. But at least it will take out the mystery that that's not going to be in our strategic plan, but it's already something we are processing and evaluating strategically as an organization. I do want to highlight a few statutory ideas that will be before our commission on Thursday that may impact the industry. Let me get my notes here, Mr. Chairman, because I know how you like when I'm organized and thorough.
Impressive.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. See how that voice dropped down on that one? So here's a couple of things that we are considering that came out of the strategic planning process. Let's just go for the meat of the first one. We're saying, when you look at Chapter 1603, that is the section in the law that includes barber elements and cosmetology elements. So that's where you'll find the language about the dual licenses, general language about the schools are there, general language about the examination processes located in there, et cetera. One of the sections says that TDLR, for the practical examination, can do the exam themselves, or they can hire a third-party contractor to do the examination. We are looking at a provision that says, and authorize approved schools to do the practical examination. What? Did he just say that? Yeah, he just said that. So here's the deal. And Mr. Chairman, you commented on it. When you look at the exam pass rate for practical examination, it's hovering at 93, 94%. It's right there. It's $74 for the students to take that. practical examination, if we can entrust the schools with educating the students on what they have to take the examination, maybe we can take that next leap, which is just an inch, and entrust them with offering the practical examination under this specific criteria. It will accelerate the time that the student can get to work. They finish their written examination, they finish their 1,500 hours, and I know you already do an examination at the end already to kind of make sure they're good and ready. Bam, and they're out the door. That's a thought. Does it happen overnight? It doesn't. But I want you guys to be challenged by it, but also to understand that we're trying to look at how can we make the experience better, quicker, and faster, actually better, smarter, and faster for our licensees. Another idea that has some roots in the cosmetology industry will train you. Whether you want to be trained or not, this industry is going to train you. When you came over to our agency, we learned a lot about ourselves, our resiliency. We learned about the things we did not know, and we learned that your industry is huge. It was overwhelming at first. Had we not had PSI come on board some 9 months later, we still would not be answering the phone calls. Because typically there are 3 phone calls associated with every student. I want to take the examination. Where's the exam site at? Did I pass? Those 3 calls are associated with every student. When we contracted with our third-party exam provider, those conversations and calls went away. They went directly to the third-party group. Now we're able to focus on the folks that are licensed. That's an important piece of the puzzle. I offer that just to say there are some valuable lessons that we have learned in working with the cosmetology program that we will and need to apply in how we manage and administer the massage program. For example, one of the things that we are trying to cobble together is a human trafficking initiative for the massage program. Having the signs that are in cosmetology, we think it's important to have those over in the massage world. Today, I do not know who is a student. I don't know how many hours they've taken, and I don't know when the person's taking an examination of massage. Don't know. We find out it's like a Christmas surprise every day we get an application. Whoa! Well, we just had a student take an examination. Wow, didn't know they were in class. Well, I hope they did well on that. We think there is some value to having the student permit, the school reporting, and the eligibility requirements for sitting for the examination in the massage world. That's a lesson that we gathered from working with the cosmetologist. Another area is that in Arlington, I saw some magical things happen at that focus group. I saw cosmetologists and barbers talking and hanging out together, and it was a beautiful thing. There were no straight razors, there was no nothing. It was a beautiful thing, and I love that. You may recall when we developed the dual license for the barber and cos shop, how that accelerated things and allowed for a cheaper cost to entry, but it also helped us because they had one license that we had to work on. Well, it's obvious that we're going to need to do something similar for the cosmetologists and the massage groups. They're already huddled together, and having some type of dual license that allows us to say, here's the one thing to offer your cosmetology service and your massage service, or your barbering service and your massage service. So that's, again, another lesson that I would apply to the working with the cosmetology program. We're also looking at changing the inspection cycle. Tanya's group, I'm super proud of them for the work they've done, but just to be honest, they can't keep up with the growth in Texas and the growth in the number of cosmetology salons. Just can't do it. I mean, Texas is growing phenomenally. What we've discovered over the years is that the sanitation-related violations differ from the different types of shops. We want to explore the idea of keeping the 2 inspections a year for the schools, keeping the annual inspection for the manicurist salons, and then having maybe a 3 or 4 year cycle for the traditional salons that are just cutting hair. We've seen that difference. There are very few sanitation violations that come in that last group. That will extend our resources, allow us to focus Tanya's group as well as enforcement on those areas that have the greatest risk or possibility for health and sanitation issues. Checking out my highlight, Mr. Chairman, if you'll bear with me.
Going nowhere.
Are we doing okay? I heard your stomach growl, so want to make sure you're fine on that. Got my dual license. I think there's two more that I want to touch on. Practical. I did a better job of highlighting my boss's page than I did mine. Mr. Chairman, there is an unused peer review provision that's in the cosmetology statute. It is a holdover from, I think, when you were 4, because there's still some stone tablet elements in the law. But the peer review process before was, if there was a complaint that came up, then we could send that complaint to the board, and they could gather a tribunal of other cosmetology salons, and they would decide the judgment. We've not used that provision, and it wasn't used by the Cosmetology Commission for years. So that's something that we're looking at probably removing from the statute as well. And then the last thing I want to touch on, I believe, that's it. Mr. Chairman, those are the key statutory elements. Most of your work is going to reside in the rules. Some of it generated from these statutory provisions, but just the ideas that were presented through the strategic planning process. You'll be able to go on our webpage under agency initiatives, and you'll be able to look at all the comments that we received from Arlington and Houston and McAllen and El Paso and Austin out there, things that we're doing well. And you'll be able to look at it and say, okay, oh, wow, in that Arlington session, wow, they were really giving Brian the business. In Houston, they gave him less business, whatever the case. But as we've always said in strategic planning, that's your information. We want to share it with you. We want there to be a continued dialogue about how we can be better as an agency. We're not afraid of the dissonance. We know that we can be better. We're very proud of how we do work now, but we know we can improve as an organization. So those are the things I want to highlight. There's one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Chairman. You may not be aware of it, but this will be your last advisory board meeting with Tamara Fletcher. There's this guy, this executive director guy, I can't stand him, Brian Francis, who has snatched Tamla back into the executive office. We're going to have a retirement of Kay Mahan, and so Tamla will be joining the executive office, so this will be her last meeting. So if you would just join me in just giving her. And she loves the advisory boards. Oh, she loves the advisory boards. I will just take another 35 hours of your time, Mr. Chairman, with this one quick day-long story. I'm joking, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have in my comments.
Wow. Spellbounding as usual. So, Tamla, you're moving on up to a deluxe apartment. Well, honey, we're going to miss you.
Oh, my
and I
gosh.
thank you personally
Deluxe
for the numerous phone calls I have given you over the years. I know you've treasured each and every one. I can tell, you know, when she gets back with me in 5 days. You know, seriously though, thank you so much for what you've done for this board, for our industry, and personally for what you helped me for when I was in the school business. Okay? And of course, if there's I'm retired now, and if you have a little spot up there, I could come in on Wednesdays and Fridays and do a little filing. I work for about $18 an hour. So keep that in mind. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to the next agenda item. We're going to go on. We're not going to take a break, okay? So I'd like to, with the discussion and possible recommendation on work group reports. We have a couple of items that are out there that are dealing with distant learning and also with credit hour. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir. And since our previous person that was on this committee is no longer here, Sam has replaced that person. Sam, I guess you will have to get in the loop with these ladies to see where we are with this. According to our agenda, it says it's discussion and possible recommendation. Mm-hmm. Are we at the point to have that discussion? Are we at that point for a recommendation? Or where are we? Let's start with Alicia, and what are you going to discuss with us today.
Mary Lindsay and I are on the work group for curriculum, and we have worked with E&E with about distance learning, and we've come up with some, we feel like some good solutions. We also know that with everything there is learning involved, and we would like to take any comments or suggestions to improve that as we go forward, moving to learn about distance learning and bringing that into the schools and using it more. It's been out there, but a lot of schools have not utilized it until here probably within the last year. And so what we did is we went in and we looked at all the different aspects of it, and we wanted to make something that was E&E and Ray and his team really come in and partnered with us and allowed us to work with them on coming up with some better solutions, or that we felt like were better solutions. And we really commend them for allowing us to do that. At this time, there were, what we did is basically, if you are a time clock school, that means that you must report your time on a monthly basis. And I feel like there was a lot of misunderstandings with that. And we really went back and we looked at that and revised it in probably better terminology, Mary Lindsay, would you say?
Yes.
Where people would understand it better. And then the other one is if you were a module school, their time would be submitted a little bit differently because of the way that they turn in their, post their hours, basically. Everything has now been put on the website. It's there. We've looked at it, and it's very explanatory. If there's any questions, I know that me personally, I work with the president of the different organizations like SIPS and FactEd, and I try to get that information out to them. And I know that Ray and his team does that as well. But we work together to try to get that out there in case there are questions about that. Am I missing anything?
No, but when you talked about the module forms, that's the credit hour program.
Yes.
Using module forms.
Yes.
So if you are a credit school, then you're reporting at the end of your module, which could be 3 months or whatever your module's set up to be. And of course, that's filed with your curriculum. So we're happy to meet, like with Education E&E, and they really worked hard to help us with some guidelines to go forward on TDLR's website, and we really appreciate that, and it explains it more thoroughly there.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
You were talking about completion of the course.
Yes.
So does this mean that when you report the hours, you're reporting like it's 350 clock hours? You're not doing a day-to-day attendance? Is that what, or you're following a school attendance?
Yes, this is Mary Lindsay, and we are following a school attendance.
This is not a TDLR. This is a school attendance.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But we are, at the end of the module, applying hours to that because it has to go through shears with hours attached.
I see. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Ray Pizarro, Director of Education. I echo both what the ladies are saying here today. I do want everybody to just keep in mind this is fluid. We are working together and trying to make sure that when Tanya's folks go in, everyone is in an understanding of how to, if they ask for hours or ask for a particular student, how are those hours reported, how were they completed? Because this is different. And I think we all finally opened our eyes in our work group meeting. And Sam, we'll bring you up to date after this meeting if you like. We'll sit down and chat. But this is different, and there are going to be different things coming along as we move forward. Is this going to be the way we do it always? No. It's probably going to change. And Alicia will bring to our attention, to all of us, to say, hey, we just found this school that's doing this, and we said this. And we're like, oh, there's another avenue or another methodology on how they're doing distance learning. So we need to be really quick to change it and not remain in that status quo. And of course, trying to help Tanya's group. So if they go into that school and they're doing something completely different, but still is able to successfully present that those hours were completed by those students, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. So there's going to be that kind of thing. So what you see on the web is not entirely, that's how it's being done completely. We are here open minds and just trying to make sure that we all get it right and continue to get it right as we move forward.
I'm very happy to hear that, Ray. Really am. So at this point, this is an ongoing situation. We're not ready to make recommendations on anything.
We're still looking into the possibilities of different types of distance learning. And I know there were some questions about some different programs that we're using, and so we're looking into that as we.
Mr. Chairman, Ray Pizarro, we are, as we put these processes into place, we are, I mean, today there's schools that are being inspected, and tomorrow there'll be schools that are being inspected, and we continue to make these changes, and we communicate with Tanya's group immediately to ensure that if we've made a quick change or something slightly different, they understand what's happening, and the website is up to date. So we are making these process change and improvements, and we're moving. I mean, this is each time we meet or we call a meeting, we call each other and say, I think we need to meet because we got a different angle to this. So we kind of always make those adjustments so that you know.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great. Okay. Anything else? Go ahead. Mary, do you have anything to add?
This is Mary Lindsay, and we talked a little bit in one of our work group meetings about, credit hour, and a recommendation that came up, and Ray can vouch for me for this, was that the schools should represent themselves when they're a credit hour school to let their students know how their hours will be reported.
Right.
And if they do not complete the course, they withdraw, they would receive 0 hours. And if they also failed the course with an F, they would receive 0 hours. A through D, they would receive their full amount of hours if they have attended class. There was a suggestion that, and I know from San Jacinto College point of view, what we were doing was adding it to our school guidelines to make sure that we represent credit hour and how it goes forward from here. And like Rebecca always reminds me that was true in January, and I didn't feel comfortable at that time, but now I can put it in my school guidelines, make sure that all my students are aware of how credit is going to work, and also put that in my recruiting literature. And it's a recommendation from myself that the students know the venture they're joining, and that they are aware of how their credit hours will be awarded at the end of their course. So I thought that was very important, that students understand how the hours are being awarded, because it's a little different. It's a little new. So we really are encouraged by thinking about those concepts.
Agree, Ray Pizarro. As you all know, throughout these several last years, there have been, what do we do? This happened. We, as a department, you remember back in 2014, we said you can do credit hours, but we found out that's not what the law said. So there was this, it was a lot of misunderstanding. So we're trying to clean that up. And today, now that we have laws in place for credit hours, and it specifically says must successfully complete the course, and that's where Mary Lindsay is mentioning that you have to successfully complete that course. So she's exactly right, and we do have FAQs that are going to be out, or that are already out there, not going to be, but they're out there. And we'll continue to educate. Rebecca will continue to go to those schools, especially those who are credit hours, to help them understand that we're all on the same page. And whatever she learns from there, if they're doing something a little bit different, yet still meets the intent of what we're trying to do, we're going to bring it to the work group members and say, hey, look, here's something different. Let's put this in place, and we'll all agree if that's, the right thing to do or not. But we're going to try to work with everybody, because at the end of the day is who's completed the course, who's completed the credit, and let the educators tell us how it happened.
Well, Ron Robinson, having been on the infancy of this concept of credit hour, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to hear what you have just shared with us. I like the fact that it's competency-based education as opposed to it being just on the clock hour. And this was one of the things that I know the community college strived very hard to get through, and we're just delighted that it is now at the place where it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay?
This is Mary Lindsay, and I have one more comment. We're also, in our education group, have been working on looking at the curriculum, the TDLR curriculum for the
Yes.
cosmetology courses, and or the cosmetology course, and we've started with that one first. And we're looking at the curriculum and looking at the steps where we could revise that. It's an ongoing work group agenda now, and because we do think things have changed from 50 years ago. It may not be quite that long, but almost. I know 40. So to maybe update and revise the curriculum, and we're working on that now. So I just wanted you to know that's been brought forth in public comment, and that we are working towards looking at the curriculum and updating it to today's world and salons.
Ray Pizarro, just to add to that, we're trying to change the mindset of the industry because that 80-120 is, as you all know, is really not a curriculum. There's standards on how the schools should develop their curriculum. In the work group, we all agree, let's put something out there so that schools are able to better educate themselves on how to develop their lesson plan, what things they need to teach at their school. Again, we didn't want the department telling them, here's a curriculum, here's how you teach it. You develop it based on the standards. So we're making, you'll see those changes in the future, as Mary was saying, in rules. We're making those little changes to the section, the title, changes to the topics that the work group feels that it should be incorporated. Then, of course, you all will have a say when you meet together at the next meeting. Well, not necessarily the next meeting,
right,
but whenever that meeting happens.
That was going to be my next question.
Also, Alicia Rivera, also we looked at 8371, which is cleaning up some of the tools needed for cosmetology, and we looked at taking out some of those things that are no longer needed. We also did look at that. I'm not sure when that's gonna, when is that gonna go to effect, or?
Yeah, we haven't.
We're not done with that yet. We're looking at that. I wanted to let everyone know that.
So this is ongoing.
Yes. That part, yes.
So do we need to make that an agenda item?
We could.
Okay.
Remember, members, Ray Pizarro, this is all suggested changes so that it should be approved by you guys and, of course, the public. I don't want everybody to think that we're just working behind it and making these changes.
No.
As you all know, the public needs to know. They're going to have their chance to make their comments when we put those out there.
Ray, you know, I come from a school background, and now I represent a totally different entity, and that is salons and everything. I go out into them, and I'm sorry to say that some of the things that we have delegated to our students to learn in school, it's not being done in the salons. They're different skill sets, and I think they're, you know, for it to be marketable for our students to be able to earn a living and not walk into a salon and just not have that school set, you know, that set of tools. I don't think that is something that we should be proud of, you know. So I'm excited about us looking into revising this curriculum. Thank you very much. I believe we had some people to even come here and to address that with us. So that's good news too. Okay.
One other thing, Alicia Rivera.
You had 3 other things.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. But could you just go through the process of when things are suggested, and just for the public to know, is that usually what happens is that it's put onto the TDLR webpage for 30 days for public comment, and that's it. Everyone's able to make suggestions, comments, and then we come back and we look at, as an advisory board, we come back and we look at those things. So I want everyone who's listening and everyone out there today to know that we do see those comments and we do take all those things into considerations, because what we do here is very important. And I just want everyone who may be watching to understand that.
Okay. Anything else? Sam, anything? Debbie? Betty? Okay.
Very good.
We're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-huh.
Love the jacket.
Pardon me?
He likes your jacket.
Thank you. Okay, so we're ready to move to the next agenda item, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay, the next agenda item is recommendation for items for the next advisory board meeting. I would like to ask that, this letter that came from Mrs. Hayes from McLennan Community College, I'd like to put that on as a agenda item for our next meeting, if that be possible. And this, I don't think this is an education issue. Maybe this should go through, what committee? The health and safety, or what? Administration?
The rules.
Assign it to the.
Legislative.
Okay. So that's who we would assign that, to look into that. And also, I'd like to go on, have for the next meeting, I'd like to get, I guess, Brian, I don't know what department, but we need to reformulate the work groups.
Okay. We'll have an agenda item to have appointments to work groups and
So,
make sure that.
I've had a request for maybe, if people choose to volunteer, say for the area in which is available, they want to take that on. If they get back with Tamla or somebody, could they do so? I don't have a problem with it.
If there has been a departure from the board,
Mhm.
somebody's left, then absolutely, if Tamla or her replacement will reach out.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, she'll reach out to you and just identify the
Identify,
person
okay.
that has expressed that interest, and we can get
Well,
a nod. I
that-
think that's
That would be
appropriate.
great. So we can
Sure.
have that ready for the next meeting.
Yes, sir,
for
we
sure.
will.
Okay.
Can they introduce us to the new replacement?
Do what?
Can they introduce us to the new replacement? Ask them.
Can they introduce? As to the new replacement.
Do you have a new replacement for Tamla?
We do not as yet.
Okay.
We posted the position, so we'll be conducting interviews shortly.
I told you, I'm available. That might be a conflict of interest, right? Okay, having said that, I think the next thing we need to go to is the discussion of dates, time, and location for the next advisory board meeting. Now, I'm a little confused. When was our last meeting?
The minutes say February,
We've had meetings.
but they met since then, but you didn't have a quorum, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to say, if we're going to meet in September, I would like to request that we do it in the middle part of the month as opposed to the beginning. When do you start
Yes.
the semester?
The end of August.
The end of August,
Yes,
okay.
that first week in September's hard.
Speaking from the community college aspect, and I'm sure in also other areas, that gives us enough time as instructors
Only in the middle of
to get our programs up and going, because essentially, when we start a new group of students, it is imperative that we be there
Right.
Yes.
at that particular time. So I am requesting that if we do a meeting in September, that we do it into the middle of the month on a Monday, if that's possible.
It's definitely available. Mr. Chairman, let me offer these dates. In September, we have September 17th and 24th. But we
Okay.
also have the first week in October, which would be October 1st. That's available as well.
All right, let me ask you this, Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir.
Based on those particular dates, do we need to have the board to notify the commission what days they are available, or can we do that at this particular time?
You can do it at this time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, board, any conflict with anybody, say for the 24th of September?
I like October.
All right, see, I told you.
October
First.
October
First.
1st.
And the reason being is because it'll give us a month to get everything up and going with school, prepared, be better,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be in Ireland.
You'll be in Ireland.
September, so.
Ooh, some
All
people
right.
have it tough.
I want to go with her.
October works for me.
October.
I'm
So-
not teaching, so I'll go with you.
Are y'all all October?
October's- what about
Well,
you?
Betty,
Either
you
day.
have a
Okay.
choice.
October.
Either stay with us or thank us.
No, she's available for October.
Do what? huh?
She's available for October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not September.
So you're available for
Yeah,
October the 1st?
October.
Okay. So October the 1st, is that good for everybody? All right, Mr. Francis, will
Yes,
we
sir.
have the AM or PM?
You get the choice.
Wow.
You get the choice because you're first.
This has really been an exciting day, all this. Okay, AM or PM?
PM. Or AM.
Sam?
No
You have a choice?
I
Debbie?
like AM.
AM?
Well, Natalie is our traveler
Natalie.
of distance, and so is Alicia.
Natalie?
Well, Southwest and American don't make it easy, so it's not going to matter.
Either-
Sometimes
okay.
I have to come the day before, and sometimes I don't. So I'm flexible.
Appreciate you.
Whatever everyone can do.
Wow.
You get to call it.
Okay. Since I drive 100 miles, or have someone drive me 100 miles, let's make it, if we can, I'm not a good morning person, as y'all can see. I blossom better for the afternoon. I'm more alert whenever I have to comment to Ray Pizarro on anything, So basically, I would like to set it for the afternoon, if that.
Then you have it, Mr. Chairman. You have it.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, having no other business or anything, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.